Hello, my name is Nick Fuchev, and my topic for this project is farmer suicides in India. Have you ever thought about how you would feel if one of your family members committed suicide? Well, in India, at least 28 families a day experience this feeling. In India, there are many people who commit suicide due to agriculture failure. And in this project, I'm going to talk about all the problems and causes for all these farmer suicides. The first major problem I would like to talk about for farmer suicides is debt. Debt can be caused by two reasons, either mechanical failure or crop failure. As shown in this picture, it is both. A mechanical tractor has failed to go and plant crops, and it has led to environmental problems on the farming land and the tractor being broken down. The debt could also be caused by farmers not working hard enough on the job, so they get paid less, or the government being unfair with the money they give. This then leads to all the stress that is built up and then leads to the farmer suicides. But there is a solution to this debt problem. If farmers could get such a hard job as a farming job that feeds the whole entire world and has a lot of stress on them, I bet they could quit and get an even better job to deal with the debt problems. These farmers quitting their old jobs and finding new jobs that pay more could relieve all the stress off their backs of putting all the food on the table every single night for their family with little money due to farming jobs. Then, with this extra money saved from the more money they earn with their new job, they could possibly go back to farming and buy a farmland to be the boss to earn more money and then possibly sell their crops to companies to have an ongoing business forever. This brings me into my second problem, crop failure. Crop failure brings a lot of stress to farmers because if their crops fail and they were getting dependent on to have these crops grown by like winter or summer to these companies and they aren't sold, then these companies will drop them and they will have no crops to sell and they will be in more debt. Crop failure could also be caused by pesticides and fertilizers, and all of this combined would cause so much stress on a farmer that they would just want to end it all and commit suicide. As you can see from this graph, 86% of the farmers who committed suicide in 2019 were actually the owners of the farmlands. And this is because the owners of the farmlands have all the responsibility to take care of the whole field. And if one season goes wrong, they have to make up for all that season again with the money from the last season and all the crops, which should cause too much stress on them.
He subsisted as a wheat and cotton farmer, barely earning enough from his small patch of land to feed his family. But in 2015, their lives unraveled.
He committed suicide. With less than 1 hectare of land, we didn't have enough. We bought a tractor and faced losses with our crops. And he was depressed after that. We had also taken out a loan of almost 4,000 euros to clear previous loans.
As you heard in the video, not just families are being affected from these suicides, but so are families. So many loved ones are dying due to farming suicides. Just like the one in the video, he committed suicide because of tractor and crop failure at his farm and he couldn't pay for it, so he took all the stress out on himself and committed suicide. With all the crop failure and the crop production rates being low, this makes it a global scale problem. With areas like the United States, Canada, and even Australia, they're expecting crops to be sold to them from India, and without India having those crops, they will go out of business too. This then leads me on to my third problem, which is depression and mental illnesses gained from stress. Just like in this picture here, many farmers in India work in isolation. They work alone and have no one to talk to throughout the whole day, so they get really sad really fast. All these emotions build up dramatically and cause many social problems. Families start noticing, but they don't think anything of it because they just think they had a hard day at work. But in the end, they end up committing suicide and the family members have no clue why. Now that I've listed all the causes for these farmer suicides, I would like to get into my argument. Many people around the world, not even just in India, think that these suicides are caused by a corrupt government in India and that they are driving these farmers to death. Well, this is wrong. These farmers are doing this themselves. They could just quit and find a new job and be happy afterwards. If the job is so bad for them, they can just find a new one to be happy with instead of becoming depressed and committing suicide or experiencing crop failure or debt and then leading to suicide. For example, in this picture, all of these people are protesting against the government because they might not earn enough money and are getting shortages of food because of all these farmer suicides. They are thinking that the government is corrupt, but most of them don't even experience any of these suicides within their family. Most of them are regular living families that just don't gain enough food for their families, so they blame it on the government for all these farmer suicides. Due to this global scale problem, the world's response to this issue is very brutal and outstanding. Many companies are also being affected around the world, example, the United States, and demand changes from these Indian farms immediately. They are gaining food shortages because Indian farms are not growing enough food, so then they go out of business. Also, families are losing members daily and are acquiring depression and anxiety from these family member losses due to suicide. The whole world is being affected by each and every one of these suicides, not just India. If these rates of suicides keep rising, not just India, but the whole world could start to collapse because many other areas could have farmers killing themselves, influenced by Indians killing themselves due to farming, and they would have no food to sell anywhere around the world and the whole world would collapse. My final predictions about this issue for the future is that it will be resolved. I say this because since the rates are dramatically going up, the issue is becoming more recognized every day and more people becoming aware of it. This means that more people will reach out and try to help these farmers by donating more money or providing care for them and protesting against the government. If these farmers get more money every single day for their job, they will not run out of debt and be able to take care of their farms. Therefore, when farmers have no debt or crop failure or stress on their backs, the suicide rates will eventually go down and eventually stop forever. But remember, do not take your life or family for granted. Always check up on them to make sure they are okay and be happy, just like this family in the picture. Thank you for listening.